Hello, everyone. I'm Andrew Nicastro here with Bridging the Gap Veterans Podcast. Alongside me, my brother Dave.
Hello.
And like we did last month, we're able to say hello and congratulations to Adam in Florida. We saw the pictures on Facebook. Congratulations, my dude. We love you, and we're happy for you.
Yes, Adam.
And thank you as well for making sure to bring V into our lives. What a pleasure it is. I've really gotten to work with you the last few weeks here.
Here.
It's amazing. I mean, the vibrancy you bring and the passion you bring for veterans,
Thank you.
serving as the interim Cape Ann Veteran Services Director. So thank you so much.
Yeah, I'm happy that Adam has made the connection here. I think we definitely hit it off from the moment we
Yeah.
really met each other at our coffee one day, and then when Dave gave me a call and said he's interested, I said, okay, what
We're
can
in.
I do? Because that's
Yeah.
what I'm here for. I'm here to help spread the word. I'm here to help connect veterans, to help connect families to the resources that are out there for them. I am here to keep my door open for them in any way possible that they would see fit.
Yeah, it's amazing. And V's story is just awesome. I got to hear a bit of her testimony, and it's just it's a great fit for this this podcast. So we're very encouraged. And Adam, we might have traded up, so don't take that hard jaw head. Exemplify to you, brother.
Which is all a perfect segue into why we're doing this.
Yeah.
This podcast is serving as a resource for veterans. You know, our mission is to quiet the stigma of PTS and mental illness that veterans are dealing with. And we do that through storytelling, education, and relationship building, which is a great segue as to why we are here today for our very good friend that we met, that Dave's known for quite a while, but V and I met last week, Bill Nelson. Bill, how are you, sir?
I'm doing well. Doing well. It's real bright and nice out here on the left coast. It's fun talking to you guys on the right coast.
And so for people here in Massachusetts who don't know anything other than Massachusetts, what is the left coast? What's that mean? Where you?
Left in more ways than one. California's left in more ways than one.
Yes, he's in California, as we are here in the Boston, Massachusetts area.
I'm 30 minutes due west of San Francisco.
Yeah. And Bill is our Vietnam veteran, because you remember a few months ago, I was the one for Iraq and Afghanistan giving my testimony, and I was able to kind of recruit Bill to tell the Vietnam veteran story and questions we get to ask. And me and Bill have met, 2019, just before COVID? Or was it 2020, just before COVID?
2020, March 2020.
Yeah, where did we meet? 2019, just before COVID? Or was it 2020, just before COVID?
2020, March 2020.
Yeah, where did we meet?
In Virginia Beach.
Yeah. Something called the Welcome Home Initiative. Something I've been saying over a bunch of podcasts is about this Welcome Home initiative, where veterans of war who get together at a retreat center where we're guided by professionals, trauma healer professionals, and we go into really hard stories, into memories, some of the hardest memories of our lives, most of us war stories, and we're guided by these professionals to see something different in our memories. So, you know, me and Bill have heard some of the most horrendous stories of explosions and sniper stories and whatever it may be, but they want you to look around that memory so we can help change that memory. So when we look at it again, it's not the same memory that's haunting us. So that's how me and Bill had met.
It's also recognizing that a lot of the PTS is trying to make sense out of nonsense. And you can't make sense out of nonsense.
That's right.
And then also, the great thing about those is, if I can go into that a little bit, is looking at our past history and how we learned how to cope with diversity as a child and growing up. If we've never learned how to deal with diversity, if we've buried it, when we hit that trauma, we bury it even more, which makes it even harder
That's right.
to walk out of it.
Yeah,
Now you have to now battle and
That's right.
sort through, right?
that's right. And so, Bill,
And then-
tell us a little bit about Vietnam. So you get the call, or I just kind of forget we had met, but how was the story of you going to Vietnam?
Well, I was not doing well in college. In fact, I didn't want to go to college anymore. And I was just in my second year, and I basically dropped out. And when I dropped out, I got drafted. And so then I was a draftee for 2 years. Spent 366 days, one leap year, in Vietnam. I got there on May 9th, 3 days before my 20th birthday, and came home May 9th, 3 days before my 21st birthday. I was in the infantry. After I was wounded in that, I got shipped to another unit, and as degrading as it was attached to the MPs.
Oh, I know that was military there, Bill. Bill, we chatted last week.
So the crowd knows. You could hear. You know why he went to MP, because V's job was
I was
MP.
an MP in
So
the Army.
you can see how they've within a week become best friends. That's just how it goes in the military, isn't
Bill,
it?
Bill and I have a deeper rooted
Yes.
connection than we had ever imagined we would have in the 1 hour we chatted last week.
It was awesome 1 hour for me.
I love how we just squeaked that in there.
Yeah, it was awesome.
He was saving that just for that moment.
This is the military way, right?
This is it.
Military culture. We rag on each other.
And you
We
know that
rag
each
on-
other get along because of it.
Yeah, and you know what? We will 100% rag on each other, but we will still continue to have each other's back. If
Absolutely. All day
anything
long.
happened that Bill
Absolutely.
did something tomorrow,
Yeah.
I will flip
That's
over
right.
backwards to do anything that I can
And
in
same.
my power to get him what he needs to do, because we
Yep.
share that commonality
Absolutely.
of service to country.
Agreed. And Bill would do the same because he's done it for
Well,
me. Yeah.
It's kind of like we used to do a lot of camping, and my dad fought in the Philippines in the Army. My uncle fought on Guadalcanal in the Marines.
Unbelievable.
And then I had another uncle that was in the 101st Airborne in World War II. And then I had two uncles that were in the Navy. And so then we would sit around the campfire, and you can imagine the bantering going on. You know, I really didn't know what to expect. The best thing was, am I going to come home?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then what even worried me more than that is coming home disabled.
Yep.
You know, it was almost, and you know, life is precious no matter how you come home. But when you're staring it in the face, you go, am I ready for that? And being only 19 years old,
That's right.
you know,
my gosh.
you're thinking about a lot of things.
And you have a fiance. Betty was your fiance at the time?
Yeah, actually we got officially engaged. She was the girl across the street, and she trapped me. She would make me. she'd
Girl
open
next
her-
door.
She trapped
Trap me. Betty's going to love to hear that, Bill.
Well, you know, I make no bones about that story, because she'd open the dining room window and make brownies and then invite me over to have brownies and stuff. And so yeah, she trapped me, but it was the best trap. You know, we've been married now for 54 years. So
Unbelievable.
I
It's
love
worked.
it.
Congratulations,
I
Bill.
love it. That's
And
amazing.
she's a
and she-
sweetheart.
And she's still my very, very best friend. So
I love that. I aspire to have that relationship
Mm.
decades
right.
from
Yep.
now.
Yep.
I aspire
Seriously.
to have my husband to say she is the best thing that ever happened to me. Yeah, I might stronghold him.
Yeah.
To
Strong
say
arm
it.
him to say that, 3 decades from now, but I'll take what I can get.
Oh.
You know, Bill, one of the questions I have, and so as a family member of a veteran, and as the one that was in the family, I was always the geeky one, I feel like comfortable
I
enough to
didn't see
say
him as
it.
geeky.
I was the runt of the litter, clearly.
He definitely was the runt of the litter.
Anyone from Gloucester knows that one. But you were drafted. So where my mind goes to that is, what if I was drafted? The military was not for me. I made that conscious decision pretty early on. But what if I had no choice?
Wow.
How did you, when you were on that plane, go overseas? Was there animosity? Was there anger? Or were you content with the fact that you were
Good
drafted?
question.
well, I was content. I felt I was doing my duty.
Yeah.
Getting on the draft thing, I really think we should have the draft again. I'm against a professional army. Being two veterans sitting right next each side of you, there's a thing in the military: don't make waves. And when you're a draftee, you don't give a damn. If you see something wrong, you're going to say it. But if you're a career officer or a career military, you let things go because if you say something, it could jeopardize your career.
You could lose your
And so
job. I see what you're
basically, I
saying.
believe that the draftee keeps the military honest. You know, in my day, we had the My Lai massacre where Lieutenant Calley and his platoon went in and massacred a village, and all the officers buried it. It was a draftee that exposed it, said that what we did was wrong.
Yeah.
It was a draftee.
Interesting.
Well,
Wow.
I look at that, and as horrible as it is, but also if not the combat thing, but in serving, we own part of what we have. You get a lot of people out there that have nothing vested in this country except what they can get out of it. They haven't put anything into it. And I think when you're a draftee or you're in the military or your government service, there's a lot of things you're putting into it. You're part of a greater thing. You're not just a parasite sucking off of it.
Yeah.
And we have so many people
Unbelievable.
doing that. And so they don't look for the greater good. It's like
And you,
having a house. If you own a house, you take care of it. But you drive through a neighborhood of rentals, and you can point out the rental houses. They don't own it, and they don't take care of it.
yeah, Bill, the last war where there was a draft was Vietnam. And
Yeah.
me and V can say that being in there's Iraq and Afghanistan occurring at the same time. And they would have had to do a draft if it wasn't for the private military contractor. People watching will hear companies as Blackwater, Triple Canopy, DynCorp. And I did a little bit of that, and I will say there was no law. The first few years, it was like it was like being a cowboy in Indians. There was no law for
Whatever
them.
you
Do whatever you want. And I always remember saying, this is wrong. There needs to be law for this sort of thing. Had it not been for the private military contractor, they were the second biggest military force besides the American military. If it wasn't for them, there would have been a draft. And they just didn't want another Vietnam. They didn't want that draft to occur again. So they just gave a bunch of contracts out for private military contractors.
I have to agree with Bill. Not necessarily a draft, but some sort of mandated service for every American. You know, service can be Red Cross. Service can
Yeah.
be mission work. A lot of misconceptions with the military are under, you know, a lot of people
Yeah.
assume that, okay, I'm signing up for war. I'm signing
right, and
up
that's
to
not-
die.
that's not
And
true.
that is
That's
not
right.
the case. That doesn't need to be the case, right? You can sign up to do Red Cross work.
I
You
think
can
it's
do
perfect.
service to a lot
Right.
of these other countries, or just see how
Yep.
other people live, and it helps you appreciate how fortunate we truly are.
That's right.
It establishes a certain level of discipline. And loyalty and respect for one another that
Yeah.
I feel that we've lost throughout the
I
years.
think you're right.
So not necessarily a draft, but some sort of service.
Service work, I
know
agree.
I was stationed in Korea, and Koreans, you have to do 2 years of service between the age that you turn 18 to, I believe it's 23 or 26. They have to do 2 years of
Yeah.
some sort of service. And they do. You know, I think the only people that are not obliged to that law are just Olympians.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah. I think it's a great
Yeah.
idea.
Well, and again, as the family member of veteran, I can see the discipline. You and Mark, you know, I go to you two, of course, being the ones I'm closest with. I can see the military influence on you both,
That's right.
and there's so much positive influence. So the
Compared to
brotherhood.
Other brothers, is that what you're doing?
Yeah, exactly.
So for my other two brothers, he's comparing to just so you know.
You know,
But you're right. But you're right.
I can see the
Yeah.
military influence
Because
and
it
the
does
beautiful
change us. It does.
part of
We
it.
hold our heads up high. We've
There's
been
a
trained
sense
differently.
Of pride that
yeah.
we have in ourselves for doing something, a selfless act for
That's right.
someone else. And I think that's the mentality that a lot of people have stepped away from, is that selfless service that we need
That's
to
right.
begin incorporating to help create this change that we're all seeking, right? Because
Yeah.
let's be real, we are Americans. We are always seeking for change, for the betterment of our country. Why not establish a sense of selfless service
Right.
then?
Now, Bill, I saw you shaking your head toward your MP friend. So you agree with her?
Oh,
We're
sure.
making progress.
Some of my best friends are cops and women. So you know, she fits both of those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm so honored.
So fun. Love the dynamic. That's what I do.
It's almost like I don't know what's going to come out of his mouth.
That's what I love about it.
We're all like hanging here.
There's still a place in my heart for you
Uh-huh.
right now, Bill.
It's like, but service work is so important, and to get people outside of the continental United States, like you said, for Red Cross or anything in service work.
See how fortunate
Yeah.
we truly are.
Yeah,
Just to see.
yeah.
So just to bring it back, Bill. So you're on a plane, and where did you land?
And Pleiku. Pleiku, Vietnam. It's kind of in the middle. And there, when I was in training, I qualified for OCS, Officers Candidate School. And so my whole unit shipped out, but I stayed back waiting for my orders. And when my orders came down, I signed up for, you have to put 2 combat services for an OCS. But I put in for Signal Corps or whatever, and armor, and I didn't get any of it. And I got infantry. And I was told by the lieutenant, well, if you don't accept your orders to OCS, we're going to send you immediately to Vietnam.
Punishment.
And so and for some reason, you know, if you're in the military, it's either you line up in height or alphabetical order. And for some reason, I'm Nelson, and I wasn't the tallest, I wasn't the shortest, but that was the first one in line. And I said, well, give me my orders to Vietnam then.
Wow.
And he looked at me and he says, he was bluffing. He didn't have orders to Vietnam. So he sent me back to my barracks. So then I trained. I was sitting there not doing anything, waiting for orders, and they allowed me to go to EOD school to get trained in demolition.
Explosive ordnance.
Which helped me when I got to Vietnam, because I used to blow up stuff because I was trained in it.
Yeah.
And so I was cross-trained in EOD. But then when I got there, like I said, I didn't know what to expect. I didn't go over with a bunch of guys, so I was sent to the first cav and to an infantry unit there. And so that, I got wounded about 6 weeks into my tour there.
Yeah.
And then a bunch of stuff happened, and I got shipped to another unit because of my injuries.
Yeah.
Just as a testament to what we're doing here, back when you were in the military serving, even sometimes you'd say things, it almost came off as words or whatever. But like hearing you say that you blew up stuff, I actually think now like the reality of that. Like those aren't just words. That was the reality.
Right. It's real people blowing up. It's not Rambo. It's not like a movie. It's real people, real life situations
life.
at war. Yeah.
It is.
There's more than just words now, and
Right.
that's a testament to what we're doing here. Is that I take a step back and think of the words just said and how that could impact the veteran. By through you telling your story, Bill, again, going back to why we're doing this, other veterans can get the opportunity to tell their stories or share their stories, or know it's at least okay to share their stories in whatever forum. I guess this could be a good opportunity for me to throw out a few calls to action as like not that we're at the middle, but I didn't do so in the beginning.
Yeah, we can do it now. Sure.
If there's any veteran out there dealing with what they consider to be a crisis,
Yeah.
there is the veterancrisisline.net. The overlay is going to be on the screen.
Kent does it, right? Is that
Kent's
Kent?
doing that, even though we can't see it because we have our production a little different because of the Zoom and whatnot.
Okay.
But Kent's doing that for us. He's our director behind the scenes. He's a stud. So it's, I want to say 988 and then press 2. They have a 24-hour chat line. They have a 24-hour text line and a 24-hour call line. Go to veterancrisisline.net. Whatever you believe to be a crisis.
Crisis is the key
That's
word.
right.
You know, they did change it from suicide to crisis because there is a stigma that is associated with the word suicide, and everyone was afraid to call that line because you might not be suicidal, but a crisis. I define crisis differently. You define crisis differently. You define crisis
Yeah.
differently. If you just need someone to speak to, that is a crisis. If you just want to have a chat with someone, you just need to get something off
Yeah.
of your chest that's eating you alive,
That's right.
give them a call. That is a crisis.
And V, it was eating me alive. It was something physical inside, and I wasn't sure why I was feeling this way. And I made a phone call. I'm like, I just needed someone to tell me, come on in. And so I checked into the Bedford VA because it was something we needed to go deeper with. And it was like a needing someone to say that physical feeling, that's okay. Come on and let's talk about it a little bit more, because it didn't make sense to me. I was just letting them know I've never felt this way. This hurts. And they said, come on in, let's talk about it a little more. And it was a crisis, you know. Some veterans don't know why they're not working like they used to, or this feeling inside is coming up at this time. It's okay to
They don't
call
know how
that
to
line.
interpret
That's
these
right.
feelings. There's so many emotions
Right.
going through your body. You don't know how to interpret that.
Yeah.
So why not speak to someone that can help you
That's right.
interpret those feelings and help you really work through those emotions?
Yeah, absolutely right. Yeah.
If you're looking for a local resource, if you're local to the Cape Ann, there's a Cape Ann Veteran Services office where V is the interim director, and she is a wealth of knowledge. We've learned so much, even in just a few weeks here working with V, and the passion is untouchable. Yes, I said it, Adam. The passion is untouchable. But yeah, reach out to Cape Ann Veteran Services if you need help with paperwork, guidance, direction, or just a community. Their coffee socials on Friday mornings at 8:30.
8:30 to 10.
Yep.
8:30 to whenever, to be honest. If you come in and the coffee is over and you just want to chat, if you just want a moment to just sit there
Yeah.
in peace, or if you want to discuss a couple things with me that have been bothering you, we are a neutral space for
right.
you. If you don't feel comfortable with us, okay, that's fine. I can connect you with someone that you will be able to connect with, whether they're a licensed clinician or a fellow vet that can help you. We will make sure that a connection is made.
Right. Yeah,
So a
perfect.
perfect resource there with Cape Ann Veteran Services. Go ahead, Bill.
I think, you know, we have a veteran service here in this county, and that's what really got me going.
Wow.
I was going to join the VA, and so I went to the county VA services, and they walked me through everything. And then it wasn't too long after that where I had my physical crisis from Agent Orange, and I went back to them, and they handled everything for me. Not the government VA, but the county VA, the local VA did.
That's right.
And they have a video. I've been on theirs twice. I was on theirs twice, where they have an outreach to the community. But I would say that to everyone. And the second thing I'd like to address is I like your moving from changing the name to Crisis, because what we were talking about before the podcast started is you don't always want to commit suicide.
That's right.
I've had thoughts where I don't want to kill myself, but if I just got in my pickup and drove off, everybody would be better off.
Mhm.
I didn't want to
Yeah.
die.
That's
I
right.
just wanted to remove myself. If I'm not here, everybody can do better.
Yep.
And that's a crisis.
That's right.
Or
And,
that's a
and the way I put it,
situation.
Bill, is we have this physical pain. We want it to end. We want this to stop. The trick is I need to end my life to make it to stop. That's a lie. We don't need that to happen. We just need to separate and say, okay, there are resources available to help with the mental aspect, the physical aspect, the emotional aspect, the spiritual aspect, and separate it. And we can do this over a certain amount of time. There's resources for this. We do not want the life to end. You mean too much to us. We just need to separate it and talk about it and have the resources available.
You know, sometimes when you're so deep in that hole, you don't see the outer perspective, right? You have
Yeah.
tunnel vision, and you can only see things from a one-sided point of view, right? I can only see things of what if I'm not here anymore?
Yep.
How much better would this life be if I'm not here, right? But you're not really considering what your families are going to
Nope.
have to experience,
Nope.
the void that you're leaving them with now that you're gone. You don't see that
No, we
perspective.
don't.
So sometimes you just need someone to help you see that perspective.
right.
Someone that can kind of step you outside of that box.
That's right.
Step you beside it and look into
Because
that
we're in
box, right?
self-loathing, we're in despair, we're in darkness, we're hearing voices. The physical pain is taking us over. It's hard to see
You're
anybody.
very selfish in that
We're
moment.
isolating,
We are guilty
yeah.
of being
Yeah.
selfish and self-isolating.
Yep. And so we need
You
to
know-
connect with other people. Go ahead,
You
Bill.
know, just what the same with PTSD, but a lot of times we want answers, but we don't know what the question is.
right.
So how can you have an
Yeah.
answer if you don't know
Yeah.
what the question is?
That's right.
And that's what this does. Yeah. Oh, I had a great experience. We have some pictures that we can show here of me
Yeah.
coming home, having relatives that were in the military. This is a banner that went from the flagpole at my dad's house over to my wife-to-be's house. Welcome home, Sergeant Nelson. That's what I came home to. I came home to a party that they threw a party for me because it was also my 21st birthday. Here I
that
am.
handsome guy. Wait, that's
Look at
you?
that stud there.
I always thought you had a white beard and you were I didn't know you were young at one
You were
point.
always Santa?
I thought you were always Santa Claus. That was really
Yeah,
good.
you're gonna see a picture of my coming home cake, and a lot of people that got married will be
Aw,
really jealous of the
Betty.
cake. That's my wife. Yep, we were just engaged there. That's my coming home cake.
Absolutely amazing.
My sister made wedding cakes and other cakes. That's bigger than most people's wedding cakes. But that was my coming home cake.
This is your family, because a lot of veterans didn't have the family to come
Yeah,
home
I
to,
was
but Bill
just gonna
did.
say that, Bill. It sounds like you had a really strong support
Yeah.
system behind you to welcome you home and carry you along.
I look at that advantage. We had, I think you had Dave talk, one of our guys who was a Green Beret, and he was 2 years in Vietnam. When he came home, he had a bag of urine thrown on him.
That's right. That's right.
And I never had that. I never had that. I knew some of my limitations though, because I wanted to become a police officer. And at that point, they were having the rallies against Vietnam, and they had in Berkeley, and they had people actually throwing rocks at the cops from the tops of buildings
Yeah.
and pieces of concrete. And I said, well, I can't be a cop because I just shoot them.
Because you'd be
You know,
angry.
they want to
Yeah, that's
kill me,
right.
I'd shoot them. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I said, no, I knew my limitations right there.
Right.
But I was wired pretty good. My wife, after we got married, I mean, she wouldn't touch me if I was asleep, because if she touched me, I would come unglued.
So you struggled with
and-
sleep. Yep.
So
Yep.
she understood some key signs.
Yeah.
Yeah, and when you wake up, it hurts. You wake up so fast.
Mhm.
You probably know that when somebody
Oh,
touches
yeah,
you, and all
heart
of a sudden,
rate, the sweats. Yeah.
you are instantly, completely alert.
Yeah.
How did she understand these signs, though? Did you communicate this to her? Did your family communicate to her? How did she know what to do? As a family member, I'm truly interested.
Well, she found out the hard way.
Yeah.
I mean, she was just 19 years old. I mean, I was
Oh,
21, she
yeah.
was 19. So we were a couple of kids, and so we had to. She's just a saint. That's all.
But Bill, you also
patient.
mentioned other family members in World War I, and like, so there must have been some help from them
There's
guiding.
an understanding there.
Oh, my dad, and
Yep.
well, in fact, her dad was in the Army Air Corps during World War II.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, he never saw combat, but he was in the rear area, but he was still in all the scenes. And in fact, she was a service brat, but she was just very understanding those years of marriage. And I wasn't a good husband. I was kind of abusive, not never physically, but I would say mean things. It was like I was testing her love. You know, I'm going to say something mean, what you do, and and she was just a blessing, and just rolled with it. And then finally, I had to apologize. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
I'm not a
Loved
good
you enough
husband.
to never give
Yeah.
up on that
That's right.
love. She never gave up.
Amazing.
And you were able to recognize, you were able to actually recognize the things you were doing or the things that you knew, like, okay, that wasn't right. You were able to recognize those things?
Yeah. Well, I mean, yes, you have. I mean, I did. You don't in the beginning. It's just something you do, and then after a while, you think, is this the way I want to treat someone that I love so much? You know, you just bought a brand new Corvette. Now you're going to go out and put mud on it,
Yeah.
or are you going to polish it?
That's right.
So you have this person that you care more than anything else. Are you going to take care of them, or are you going to abuse them?
Yeah.
Did you realize that yourself, or did someone bring that to your attention that you were nasty?
And that was
One day say, I don't like my foul attitude.
I had a mom that would tell me. My mom
Love those
had no
moms.
filter. Yeah, my mom had no filter. She died 2 years ago at 98, and she never had a filter. She never had a filter. I mean,
Mm.
she said what she thought, and she always said it in love, though.
Yeah.
It was, but why do you treat Betty that way? It made me start thinking, why am I treating her that way?
See, if it isn't
Wow.
veterans calling each other out or holding each other accountable, family members and friends really have to say something, because maybe the veteran just doesn't get it. Transference of post-traumatic stress.
Yeah.
There's so much pain and hurt inside. To get it out, we sometimes take the emotional
Out on
machine gun and
someone
take it
else.
out
Yeah.
on a family member or someone else. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
and
do
then-
wonder about that, though. Yeah, I do wonder about that, though. You know what I mean? Like, I almost feel like sometimes, not because of anything you did, but as a family member, I almost walked on eggshells,
Right.
Because I wasn't sure if it was okay to challenge, or if challenge is even the right word,
Right.
or dig deep because of what may come out. There's almost a fear as a family member of what we could be bringing out,
Yeah.
because we don't understand it.
That's
Yeah.
right.
But think of, if you don't say anything, if you don't find a way to communicate, how much of that is building up on the veteran?
Yeah.
Right? So if
course.
if I'm not talking to someone, if
Yep.
I'm not talking to my brother, if I'm not talking to my mom about this, if I'm not talking to my loved one about this, who am I talking to about this?
Nobody.
No one.
That's
So
right.
it's just building and building and building and building, and at some point it will explode.
It's like a volcano.
It's like a volcano, and it will explode,
Mm-hmm.
and who knows how it's going to come out, right?
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
so it might be okay for a relative to kind of maybe walk on eggshells, but at least start making that path,
I
right?
think it's
start
important, that's
creating
right.
that path. Test the waters. See what that loved one is capable of. See what you are capable of getting out of them.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And
That's
if it's
it.
not working, then that's when resources like us come in handy. You, as the family member who is concerned about your loved one, can reach out to us and say, hey, Dave's having an issue.
Yep.
Any way you can get him out of the house?
Mhm.
Any way you can start making a connection there? Any way you can get him some help? And I'm no one to come straight up to your door and say, you need help. I'm
Yeah.
going to help you. It's not going to work
Lovingly
like that.
guide, some
I'm going to
guide.
establish a relationship with you
Mhm,
first.
mhm.
I'm going to establish a level of trust so that you are accepting of anything that I would have to offer you,
Yeah.
and in turn also offer you some counseling on how
Mhm.
how to make this, how to rebuild this relationship, how to rebuild
like
these
that.
connections,
Mhm,
and
mhm.
reintegrate you into life.
Yeah, because V said something important. You're stepping off of your eggshells onto solid ground and communicating whatever way that you're learning. If that veteran explodes or gets defensive, those are red flags for something deeper.
Sure.
It's
No, that's fair.
important.
Yeah, yeah.
So because if it's a toxic, negative environment, you're always on eggshells, there's something toxic there. It needs to be brought out.
Right, right,
So by
right.
you as a family member being able to say that, communicate in whatever way, this is good. This is raising those flags,
Mhm,
identifying
mhm.
whatever the problem is. Yeah,
Mhm, mhm.
it's good. That was good. Yeah.
But a lot of times, you have to remember that the person that has experienced that trauma have done things that are so horrible. They don't want to share that with the people they love the most.
Like we're protecting them
They
or
don't
something.
want
They
them
say-
to see
they say,
them
"Do
in
you-
a different light.
Yeah.
Do I want my wife to experience war?
No.
Do I want her to experience what it's like to kill a woman?
No.
Do I want her to expire, what happens with collateral damage? And so a lot of times
Mm.
that's where getting someone that has been there can deal with that.
That's
And
right.
a lot of, and then to find that, I think Dave has seen my poetry and stuff. I have a lot of release through poetry. I started poetry back in high school, but I quit for many, many, many years, and I started it back again after I got back from Vietnam. And so it's a release for me, but also, I don't know, just love of Jesus Christ has brought it, and learning how to try and forgive myself.
Yeah.
And if you don't have Jesus, I think you can be healed, but I think Christ lends us away because there's forgiveness no matter what. I've shared with other people. I call Dave my Paul because of his and our retreat was his road to Damascus.
Yeah. That's how Bill met me. I was in a fetal position, panic attack, and in a room full of veterans, 40 or 50 of us, and it was very humbling because you try to hold yourself together like a Superman, especially around other veterans of war. It was my place to melt. I melted in that place, and these men looked me in the eye, every single one, because I was forced to look in every man's eye, and said, look them in the eye. And I was that's shameful when you run into a panic attack or, oh man, I broke down again. Look them in the eye. They're going to tell you they feel the same way inside, and they have your back. And every man affirmed that. It changed everything, kind of about the brokenness of war and everything. It was really cool.
Right. You were able to see into their soul just as they saw you in the fetal, and they saw what your soul was experiencing, and they needed you to get up.
That's right.
And know that, hey, I've got your back. I'm here. I'm here for you.
Yeah. If we're not getting up, we're somehow addicted or stuck in toxicness, or we're laid down on the inside, protecting ourselves from the ones we love most. Because Bill said it. The ones we love most, we don't want them to see us differently than we may have acted or what we were exposed to over there. And that in itself is a whole nother set of armor. So how do we communicate with them? There's got to be some kind of positive communication or healthy coping mechanisms with family.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the things that we did were not pretty. I am 100% ready to say there are things that I've done that I am shameful of, but I'm looking forward to past that moment, right?
Yeah.
I have passed that moment.
That's right.
Now I am here to help you, everyone.
That's right.
Overcome that battle that I overcame once.
You're finding purpose in the hurt that we were exposed to. You can walk around and see the eyes of the veterans. They had the same eyes we did when we came back. They don't know what to do. They're stuck. And so finding purpose and helping them find purpose.
Purpose is your key word,
Yeah.
right? We when we're in the service, our purpose is our mission, right? The
right.
completion of the mission. Once we get out of there, what is our purpose, right? There's no direction in life. We don't come back with a trait that we can find useful. We don't have a new career path when we come back home,
Yeah.
right? We have family members that we don't want them to see us in that shameful way that we see ourselves. Right? So we need to establish a new purpose. And your purpose will change throughout life,
Yes,
right?
it will.
5 years from now,
Yes,
my
it will.
purpose will be completely different.
that
than
is
what it
okay,
may be
right?
now. Right. And that is
Yeah.
100% okay. But establishing that sense of purpose as soon as
Yeah.
you get home and establishing those relationships and that strong support system is crucial
That's
in your
right.
recovery.
It's like, Bill, you can't be alone. You found your release in poetry. You had a family. Betty supported you. You had family members that went to war. You had a support system all around you in the darkest of your times. And
Yep.
some veterans might be alone. What would you tell those veterans, the ones that don't have what you have? Where do they go? What do they do?
I'd say look for a connection.
Yeah.
Look for a common, like we have our Zoom meetings every
That's right,
Tuesday and Friday.
We talk every day by text. Every day we're talking by text as well.
Get connected. We have a member in our group that keeps getting lost and coming back and lost and coming back. And our texts to him or our phone calls to him, I don't care what hole you're in, you're not going to lose us. You can't dig a hole so deep that we can't reach down and pull you out. And we're not going to let you be there. And
If you keep pushing us away, we're going to be here when you're ready to come back. That's what we keep saying to them.
Yeah.
No matter where you're at, we're here when you're ready.
We're here.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's almost like the same tone can be used with family. It's like almost like I wish I could have said, no matter how deep the hole you dig, Dave, I will help you climb out. There's no deep enough. I'll help you climb out.
I might not have heard it back then, but when there was a little bit of light or some space, maybe I remember my brother's voice. I could have,
Maybe it would have it's like when water finds a little crack.
Right.
It gets in there and it can kind of just open it up a little more.
Yeah. Yeah, you're
But
right.
ultimately that wall had to come tumbling down.
Mine came down hard.
Bill saw you there, yeah.
The thing is there was a great cartoon with Eeyore.
Winnie the Pooh.
Winnie the Pooh, and he's sitting. There's a guy, and he's in the Great Depression, and he says, "You're sitting there doing nothing," And he goes, "That's sometimes what friends do.
Wow.
They just sit there next to you and say
Present.
nothing."
right.
Present.
And so in your question where you're saying you felt like eggshells, well, just being there next to him, saying, I'm willing to sit here next to you. That's it.
Right.
We don't have to talk. We don't have to talk. We don't have to do anything. I'm just going to be here
That's
next
right.
to you.
And that's what my brothers are always there.
We are always there.
No
yeah.
matter what, I can go with them with the hardest stuff, or we can go through the hardest stuff, and they're
Yeah.
always there. That's the good thing about
We'll
our
do
family.
whatever. Yeah.
That's right.
That's a family.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that is a
That's
family. Yep.
To always be there
Right.
for you.
No matter
In
what.
your darkest of hours,
That's
they
right.
will always be there for you.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I feel like
And one of
that's
the
the
things that-
commonality in the veteran community. We will always be there for you as
Yes.
well.
Yes. Yep.
But another thing I say is like find an outlet. We have.
What was it, Bill? Find a what?
Outlet.
Oh, find an outlet.
We have people that are artists that draw pictures, and you can really tell a lot by a lot of their pictures. There's a guy on my Facebook page that spent 2 years in the 101st Airborne as a medic, and he constantly posts. I'm trying to get him into our thing, but he's into painting, and his paintings, you can tell his early paintings are a lot darker than his latest one. It's been 50 years, since we've been there, but that's a half a century. But the thing is that shows how it is an outlet. Mine, is like I said, my writing. Find an outlet. I met with through our group here. I met an Israeli lady who was in the Israeli forces, and she has it real bad. And she called and they put us together to talk about writing poetry because she had written some poetry. So we sat there and we mentored each other. I mentored her on writing poetry, so she could get it out. And so I mean, it's
Got to be an outlet, right? And Bill, I had shared with V that you were a poet, and she said the vet.
Just
I know because I could
mention that.
feel it.
Did you feel
I
that?
did.
Yeah.
So what is happening at the Veteran Service Office?
So Bill, you said it perfectly. Find an outlet. Find a creative outlet, right? Because we understand that some individuals are creative thinkers, and the way they communicate is through some sort of creative modality, right? So the Veterans Writers Group has opened its doors back up. They had a short hiatus during COVID, but they've since established a new writers group. They meet every Saturday morning, I believe, from 10 to 12.
There it
I will be
is.
sure to connect with you so
Yep.
you can share the exact times on
Yep.
that. But every Saturday, a writers group. And
Excellent.
writing can be anything. Writing can be songwriting. Writing can be poetry.
That could be
It could be
journaling.
journaling. It could be anything, but they're teaching you a way to express the thoughts that are in your head. And then,
Wow.
along with the creative process, we also have a Soldier Songs and Voices group that is a musical outlet. So another creative outlet for individuals to help you through music.
Can they do
express
instruments?
yourself.
Can they sing?
Yeah, so Soldier Songs and Voices, the Cape Band chapter, will provide a veteran with a guitar. They will teach you at no cost to the veteran, so long as you agree to keep up with your
Yep,
lessons,
yep.
right? You just maintain your lessons, and you're actually using the guitar.
Right.
If you're no longer using the guitar and you don't care for it anymore, just return it back and let
Yeah.
another veteran
Yep.
experience it. But Soldier Songs and Voices does teach you how to read music, play music.
Amazing.
They will teach you songwriting. And eventually, if you are ready and willing to share your story through music, they will help you share your story through
Right.
music.
It's awesome because sometimes it's not. And Adam talked about this, and V's affirming it's not always this type of trauma therapy. Some people don't want to go back into a trauma.
Right, there's not a one-size-fits-all modality for
No.
any one individual. I mean, you're discussing poetry and you're discussing music.
That's
and,
right.
And you're discussing therapy. What worked for me was meditation, right? It's a holistic approach that I took that helped me. I learned it through process of elimination of trying different modalities, but that is what worked for me, and what worked for you is different, and what worked for the next person and Bill and everyone else is
Yeah.
completely different. So again, there is no one size fits all modality. Why not try them all, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Why not try them all and see where you best feel most welcome or best fitted for?
Yeah.
And to bring this all full circle to your question about to Bill, the question was if a veteran comes home and they don't have a big family,
Yeah.
but by just connecting,
That's right.
whether it's through music, connecting through writing, just connecting in general to Cape Ann Veteran Services or other services like that.
Right.
If you just connect, you're starting that process of finding how the therapy will affect you
And it
or
has to be,
what will be working.
Bill said it has to be an outlet. It has to be a healthy outlet. It can't be addiction. It can't be abuse. It can't be isolating. You can't be in the dark in your room just playing video games the whole time. It's got to be connection. We had camaraderie in the military. No matter how bad or how good it could have been, there was always the person to the left and the right to process and run things by. And we come back to civilian world and we plug in and we start to struggle in marriages or being a father or mother or in a job. We miss that life, and we can still have that. We just need connection and healthy outlets. Yeah.
So I want to, we brought up something that we have talked about since day one in this podcast, which is purpose. So for you, Bill, can you tell us the story of your purpose now? You know, when did it hit you? How did you find it? Where were you when you find it? Is it that clear? I don't know, but what is your purpose and what's the story behind it?
What's my purpose now? Two. One is to serve, and the other is to be grandpa.
Yes.
On the back of my pickup, the full set back of my pickup is a picture of all 7 of my grandchildren. Every 2 years, I line up all my grandkids, 7 of them. There's 7 now. It didn't start out that way. Behind my truck, I take a picture, go down to fast signs, and they make a, those things they put on buses and all that. They put that on the back of my window, and it's an actual picture, covers the whole thing of all my grandkids.
Yeah.
But then it's also service.
Yeah.
I'm a thing at a church. It's called Stephen's Ministry, where I minister to other men. It's a group where men only go men, women to women, to avoid any conflicts, because we're also vulnerable to going astray in times of crisis. And that's where pastors and those people go astray, is when they do, if they're not doing same-sex counseling. And a lot of times, it's easy to get into the hole with someone instead of reaching down and pulling them out.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
my purpose now is just, I'm retired now, and it's going to sound stupid, but a lot of my purpose is counting my blessings. We can all look at the things that we have. A guy was asking me about medications, and I just started laughing. You don't want to take all the medications I'm taking. I have an enlarged heart. Part of it's dead. I have a pacemaker because the top works different from the bottom half. I have compromised lungs from Agent Orange. And you go there, and the guy goes, "Wow!" And I go, "Isn't that a blessing?" Because it slowed me down to think about the things I could do.
Yeah.
And we have so many blessings in front of us that we tend to look at the obstacles as obstacles and not opportunities. I can't go this direction anymore, so now he's leading me to go a different direction where people hopefully can see me in more of a Christ-like manner instead of the person that I have to tend, because I do have a temper and I do have rage at times, and that's not what I'm called to have. And only Christ can bring me back into going, "You're in control, not me." And when we realize that we're not in control, because that's what we want to be. We want to control. We want to control our emotions. We want to control the situation. The only thing we can control is our attitude. That's all we have control over. We can have this fun banner, and I can make fun of you being an MP or you being, a jarhead. But, the thing is, we only have control.
He's cracking himself up.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's what I love about. That's what I love
We only
about.
have control. We only have control of how you only have control of how you're going to react to what I said.
Yeah, and he's always funny. Like he always in the whole group. The retreat center, the Welcome Home Initiative. I think there's 1,000 graduates, maybe slightly more throughout the country. And like I said, we talk every day by text. I remember my first one. For me, with the panic, it was fear and rage. There's a lot of anger in me, a lot of fear. And I remember that dinner that night we had, you and Betty made sure to sit next to me. And you provided a safe older couple for me in a very vulnerable spot. And it was just really amazing. That's who you both have been in my life since. And I love getting your Christmas card. He has the most beautiful blended family anyone could ever have. It's huge. They're the matriarch and patriarch. Everyone is lovingly around you, and you serve as that. You do with the young veterans in the group. Myself, Josh, there's a few of us. You don't leave us alone. You're always checking in on us, leaving messages if we don't answer. Hey, little brother, just want to see how you're doing out from the left coast here.
And if I can, I mean, Dave, you have found a very similar purpose.
Yeah.
In fact, I'll toot your horn for you. You've won awards at this point
Oh, thank you for tooting my...
for serving. He just won an award for his service work with a local nonprofit organization,
Yeah.
Volunteer of the Year.
Yeah, Amira, right, which is it's a sex trafficking safe house for women of prostitution, exploitation, and trafficking. And I was blessed. I count it as blessings to even be in an opportunity like that to win Volunteer of the Year. So it's very humbling. Yeah. Yeah.
So
service
You got
work,
an
service
award
work as
that does
well.
it.
You got an award for sex trafficking, and you're proud of it?
Well, it was. I said how humbling it was to be part of an organization like that. I'm not even gonna go there with him, but
I know.
but it was very humbling because to be a man in that place is very humbling because most men have crushed these women. It's just horrendous. What we can't get into it. It's a whole week-long podcast in itself. But it was humbling to
start
be
a
a
whole
man
new
in that
podcast.
place. That's what I was
Another
able.
level of trauma.
Yeah,
I can't even imagine.
So yeah, I'm lucky that I've been able to take my service work and my mission work and transfer it into the civilian world where they see someone who's safe that can be given a mission that is for good.
Our purpose
That's right. That's
now
my
is
purpose.
To look out for
Yep,
others.
absolutely
that
right.
Are not, that are vulnerable
Mhm.
and will not look after themselves.
right.
That's amazing. That's
Yeah.
a great purpose.
Yeah.
V, yourself, you're serving.
Yep.
I see a trend here. We have three veterans that have, battled themselves, have
Yes.
navigated this thing we call life through PTS. And you all found a similar purpose in serving, different ways of getting there, to your
right.
point about we all have our own story and we have to get their own way. But serving has become a
I agree.
trend.
That's what's changed it.
I think it's part of what's instilled in our mindset when we first join, right? So think about it. We are young children when we first enter the service, right?
Yeah.
Your brain is restructured to think a certain way,
Yeah.
right? You're no longer thinking of me. I'm thinking of you as a whole. And so when you get out of the service, you still have that
That's
mindset,
right.
They don't retrain you to go back into civilian life. That doesn't happen. There is no training that we go through when you
No.
get out to fall right in line and fall right in suit with everyone else and blend right in. So we now have to cope and adapt to this way of thinking that we have, make it our own, and create the change that we want to instill in others, right? And through educating others on how to help us
Yeah.
by helping others.
That's right.
Really. That's my purpose, right?
Sure.
Is how to help you help your brother.
Right. Yeah.
If
Because
he
I think
doesn't
that-
want
I
to
think that's-
receive the help from me, how can I help you to help him?
Yeah. What was it, Bill?
I think you mentioned something that I think you had a harder time than I did. In being a draftee, I was a civilian going out and then coming back. You chose a career path.
Yeah.
Then you had to change your career.
Hmm.
That I didn't realize that
Right.
until just now. That's a big change. That's a big difference.
That's right.
That's a
'cause
good point,
I
Bill.
became the state trooper. I just thought carrying a gun for a living after I carried a gun for a living for, my goodness, close to 17 years was the right fit. And it was the wrong fit because I was pissed off in uniform and I was angry and I wasn't the right fit. So it was the VA looking at me saying, you can't do that. I'm like, you're right. So changing it all, psychology. I'm about to, I'm graduating tomorrow. The Bachelor in Science with Psychology. So I figured out what was going on
Yeah.
up there. And
He doesn't even talk about it. Yeah.
reconnecting, like you said, we were trained one way, so it was about the last 4 years reconnecting the circuit board that was so burnt out, and I've just learned so much from it. And now I'll be facilitating at Welcome Home Initiative, hopefully, for veterans of war and guiding them through the memories. So yeah, it's really
Are you
cool.
looking to do that locally or
We can always talk about a Welcome Home Initiative
Okay.
in these areas. They want us
Yeah.
to always talk about bringing retreats to wherever we can. That's right.
Love that.
Yeah.
You know,
Sure.
we were talking about a commonality of veterans, and I wrote one here. If I can take just a minute and read it. It's called
Yes.
the twine that. It's called the twine that binds. The warrior of time present and time past, placed in harm's way, all alone or arm in arm. The taste of fear, the smell of death. Only those who stood on this consecrated land hold this twine that binds. Others see and nod, shed a tear. They have no idea, no way to touch, no hand to hold the twine that binds. The best to battle, so young to maim, to die. Memories of the crimson tide, faces of those who crossed the line. Brought back through a bleeding heart, bruised spirit held together with the twine that binds. Lives changed so many ways, not all scars for eyes to see. Many wounds buried deep, image, thought, or familiar sound brings forth a rush from wounds of old. The veterans of the battlefield, the thread that surpasses time, the twine that binds.
That's amazing.
It's awesome,
I
Bill.
hear that.
That's beautiful.
That's what Bill does.
Yeah.
That is amazing. I heard that, Bill.
You have so many of those because you've shared the book with us that a lot of the veterans, your just poetry is amazing.
I'd like to do one more if I can.
Yeah, no, please.
Absolutely.
Oh,
It's called The Flag in the Drawer.
I
The
love
flag
this
in the
one.
drawer never felt the gentle breeze, never shimmered in the sun, never climbed the highest pole, a drape for a native son. The flag in the drawer. 3 corners to the fold, on caisson slowly pulled from battlefield to grave. Gently lifted, folded, put away, the flag in the drawer. The tears that fell upon this flag, the sacrifice lies deep inside. Not only he who gave his life, but those he touched, left behind. The flag in the drawer. So many times to arms the call, so many times the coffin shawl, so many times this sacrifice. Is this the cost of freedom's light? The flag in the drawer. When we see it on the highest pole, when we see it shimmer in the sun, when we see it flutter with the breeze, remember those who stood the test, the flag in the drawer.
Speechless?
Not many people understand what the flag really truly means to
That's right.
us, right? They see the red, the white, the blue. They don't really understand the meaning behind it.
That's right.
So when we see people burning our flag, when we see our flag being disgraced, they don't understand why we are so angry.
Yeah.
But that is why.
That's it. Because
That's-
we stand on the shoulders of men and women who have passed on and died in battle, where they come as the flag is draped over and then given, folded up to the family members. That's what the flag represents for something we fought for. And I know when we're in war zones, we don't necessarily think of the flag.
No.
It's the people there. But how Bill just said it, he was able to come back from Vietnam, take a deep breath, and write that poetry to express what me and you already feel. He was able to put it into words. Absolutely amazing, Bill. Thank you for
think you're
sharing that.
amazing.
I'll give
Yeah.
you one more because you just talked about anger.
Yeah.
I wrote this one when I was thinking about the people that send us to war. Did we give our all for naught? I felt life leave while in my arms. Our leaders have forgotten we bleed. Mothers, lovers, children's empty arms. This debt never paid. A flag no reward from leadership failed. Ere I go in harm's way by your command, be sure it's not in vain. I cry for my brothers lost so young, past, present, future wars. May our cause be just. May our cause be pure. Our leaders have forgotten we bleed. We, the young, die for greed's folly. Stand by as Satan destroys innocence. Leadership failed as we bleed. Woe to you who point the way, sending our children where you will not go. From your bunker out of harm's way, platitudes of bravery as you shrink away, watching men die.
Can we get him? Can we fly him out one of these days so you
I know,
guys
Bill,
to
I
hang
want
out?
you to come hang out with us. I want you to come sit with our writers group one day.
Yeah.
Oh,
Even if you get him on a Zoom, then
amazing.
yeah, tell him he's got
maybe
whole
a Zoom.
book of all of these poetry.
I heard every single word from all three of your poems.
Yeah.
Every single word truly resonated with a personal life
That's right.
experience for me.
Everyone. And
At
how many
least-
veterans will he relate to on this
Yeah.
podcast?
Yeah.
So, and that's the point. Just kind of segue for you.
Yeah. So which is a beautiful segue as far as if you're a veteran that has a story to tell. As you can see, this is what we're all about: telling stories and hearing you. V heard you, Bill, because that was an amazing. I want to honor those poems. They were amazing. Even as a civilian, I could feel. Something was moving. Even being disconnected as far as being a veteran, I felt it. So thank you so much, Bill. So honoring all you veterans that have a story to tell. Your story is amazing in so many different ways. If you'd like to share your story with us personally, as in when I say with us, me and Dave have access to this email, and V, we can get you access. It is bridgingthegapvetspodcast@gmail.com. My guy Kent is going to put it on the screen with a QR code as well. So if you take your nifty smartphone and point it at the QR code, it'll prompt you to send an email. So you can do it that way, reaching out to us directly. So you can just have a conversation with us. And like you hear, Dave is very connected. If you feel like you want to be guided in other ways, Dave can help guide you as well. If you're local to Cape Ann, whether you're a family, community member, or veteran themselves, reach out to V. She's an amazing resource, and again, can guide you, can hear you, can hear your story. And if you're someone that is dealing with what you define as a crisis, don't hesitate to reach out to veterancrisisline.net. It's there for you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Call, text, or email, veterancrisisline.net. Bill, any last words for our audience here? Anything you want to leave
did
us
it.
with? You left us with a lot.
The last three, and that's like retire, drop the mic, because you might just ruin it right now.
Yeah.
So I love you.
Yeah, just keep up the good work. You have
Yeah.
great podcasts going here. Let's hope it gets real successful.
Thank
Bill,
you.
love you,
Reaching out.
brother. I'll talk to you soon, my brother. I love you.
Well, thank you, V. We appreciate you, and we're happy to have you on board here as one of our members. Brother Dave, graduating
Brother.
tomorrow.
Yes, I am. Marine with the brain. Let the jokes run. Marine with the brain.
Just one last thought. V, I'm going to be praying for you that God places you in the position that He wants you.
Thank you, Bill. That resonates with me and everyone in this room
Yes,
as
it
they
does.
understand the meaning behind it.
Yes.
Thank you. I
Yep.
appreciate you.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we're going to sign out. Thank you all for tuning in. We appreciate you all. We love you all. Have a great rest of your day. Episode number 5 in the books.